Che fai? Che fai?
Okay, hi guys and welcome to the show, and today I'm going to be reviewing my latest acquisition. This is the Sinn 104, and it's a watch that I've just become besotted by. I'm absolutely over the moon with this piece. I haven't fallen in love with a watch this hard since my beloved Squire 1521, which I just adore. And it's a really worthy addition to my collection, and I've had my eye on Sinn for a long time, but finally I have one in the collection. And you know, before we go into the review, I just want to address two things. Firstly, this watch really has been a game changer. As you probably know and can figure out by now, I have a huge respect and admiration for Germany. Their culture, their history, their art, their music is so important to me. Their architecture. I mean, after all, I am actually named after a Wagner opera. So, you know, I think it was only inevitable that at some point this would happen. And what I want to say is that it really has been a game changer. It's really made me reevaluate some of my purchasing goals for the next few years. This watch, for me, personifies everything that I adore about Germany. It's extremely well made. It's reliable, very clean, crisp, not flashy. Just gets the job done, but extremely elegant at the same time. You know. And it's something I really do appreciate. I would almost say this is the perfect watch. There are two little things which I'll address in the up and coming full review that I think could be improved, but it's the closest to perfection you'll get for that money. I mean, this is definitely a step up in quality and design, but if you can stretch to 1200, it's probably be the best 1200 you'll ever spend. Before we get into the full review, I would like just to go over very quickly the full specifications of this watch. There are so many little kind of technical details and technologies that Sinn are implementing in a lot of their watches that it's worthy just to point out. So before we do the full review, let's just have a look at that. Okay guys, so I apologize about the reflective nature of the screen. I'm going to try and do the best I can. So this is the WatchBuys website, and it's very clear and easy to understand. So if we just have a quick look down, there's a tab here which says technology. So you've got reviews, related watches, blah blah blah, and the details. Now the technology is very important because this is really where the Sinn technically outshines a lot of watches, well, most watches, probably all watches, for its price. So here it's talking about the tegimented hardened case, which is this special in-house steel made by Sinn, which has an increased hardness of 1,200 Vickers, 5 times harder than standard steel, which is really impressive. Then we have this dehumidification technology, which is built in to the case. And then we go further down, we have copper sulfate capsules, these are to absorb humidity trapped inside the case as well. Pretty crazy. extreme anti-magnetic protection. Now, what this is they basically construct their cases in a special way using soft iron components in the case and protective rings surrounding the movement. This enables it to be even more anti-magnetic. Then there's a diapal oil-free escapement. This makes the Sinn even more reliable, as their oil does not age. This process begun by exchanging ruby escapements for diamonds, blah blah blah. So anyway, you know, basically they have an oil-free escapement, so that's really cool. Then a hydro oil filled technology. Now, not all watches have all of these features, but pretty much, you know, then there's EMZ timers, but pretty much most of them do. So, and then here's more about their submarine steel, which is really impressive. Anyway, you can read all of this stuff for yourself, but I just thought it was worthy to point out, you know, what kind of technological advances Sinn really are doing, and this is very impressive. And I haven't seen any watch company, you know, few exceptions of the high-end big boys that actually put this much research and effort and, you know, trying to push the technologies to this level. I mean, it's just very impressive. Anyway guys, let's go back to the studio and get on with the full review. So as you can see, some really impressive things going on with this piece, and for the asking price, I don't think there's anything that even comes close to it. So very impressive, and I've got to say this watch is absolute pure class, and I really do mean that. And you know, it's a classic in the making. I think I really do believe that. I think Sinn really hit a home run with this design. It's the closest to a perfect watch, if there is such a thing. I mean, I don't think there is, but it's as close to perfection, in my opinion, as you'll get. So, without further ado, let's have a look at the full review. Okay, hi guys, and welcome to the show. And today I'm finally doing my review of the Sinn 104 STSA, which is this piece right here, and I purchased it on WatchBuys.com. They are the official online retailer for Sinn in the United States, and I think North America as a whole. I'm not quite sure about that, but really fantastic website, very easy to use, clear, precise to understand, very fast shipping as well. So I was really pleased with my experience with them. So let's get the specifications out of the way, because there's a hell of a lot to discuss with this watch. First of all, we'll just go over the size. So we have a 41.5 diameter. We have a thickness of, I would say that's 11 millimeters. Lug to lug, we're looking at about 46 millimeters lug to lug width of 20 millimeters. So a really nice size, and for me 40 millimeters is my sweet spot. So it's just a flick over, but really it wears like a 40. Immediately you'll notice it's quite thin, and I really do appreciate that. I do love a more thinner watch. It just wears, I feel it wears a bit more elegantly than something that stands up too tall. So the proportions and size of this for me are absolutely perfect, and I have very small wrists. So I really do appreciate being able to buy something that is so nicely proportioned. Inside we have, so the movement inside is a Sellita SW220-1, and this they've modified it quite a lot. If we have a look at the display back, you'll see their gold rotor that's signed, and then they have, you know, kind of got some blued screws. The decoration is mainly on the rotor, and a few little bits of decoration. This is a Sellita, which I must admit I'm not familiar with this particular movement. I am very familiar with the SW200, which is a very popular, reliable and robust movement. So this is a kind of one step up from that, and of course it's been heavily modified by Sinn. We have a day-date complication, 38-hour power reserve with the movement, and so far it's been incredibly accurate. I would say on par with the SW200 easily, and those of you who are familiar with the SW200 will know that it's the kind of famous rival to the ETA, and often it's been said that it's more accurate, and I have found that. So so far it's behaving very in a similar fashion to the SW200. So we have this a countdown bi-directional bezel, which is done extremely well, and not only that, it's there are actually little screws at the 6 and I would say about the 11 o'clock, no, 10 o'clock position there, another one at the 12, another one at the 2 o'clock. The craftsmanship and the attention to detail that's gone into the bezel. This is not the most cheapest way of doing bezels, so I do appreciate that. And actually, I've only ever seen these little screws on the bezels of Breitlings that have cost, you know, 4 times, 5 times as much. So that's a cool little thing. Now the bezel, as you notice, it's reversed. It's a countdown. This is an aviation watch after all. I must admit, at first it took a little bit getting used to, but being bi-directional, it is quite useful. It's not that difficult to still use it in the same way as you would a normal bezel. You just got to remember that, you know, 15 is here and 30, blah blah blah. After a while, you do get used to it. But I must admit, having the countdown bezel was a kind of unexpected pleasure, really, because it has been useful. So if you do prefer the more traditional bezels, then perhaps this is not for you, but I must say making that leap hasn't been a big one, and I do still find this bezel very useful. The action on it is extremely solid. You know, the first thing I noticed that you'll see in the unboxing was I was blown away by the craftsmanship and the quality of the build. Now, originally it came on the Sinn official strap, which is this 20mm, very thick, very heavy, beautifully made leather, high quality strap, really solid and robust, and of course it had this signed buckle. I've currently put on one of my favorite straps. This is a distressed strap, Italian made, Vere Pelle, made in Italy. So I've changed the strap to a collareb, which are my recommended luxury Italian handmade strap makers, and that you can order from collareb.it, or they also stock on Hobens. I just wanted a more kind of casual look, and I love this kind of distressed look, especially on something so elegant. I think it really plays nicely with the kind of very tool-like, very precise nature of the aesthetics, and it's nice to have something that's just completely different, you know, distressed and a bit worn. So that is something to point out, is that I obviously got the leather. I got this version on a leather bracelet, which was priced a little bit more cheaply. I think I saved a couple of hundred on then getting the bracelet version. For me, I do prefer straps because, you know, this looks fantastic on a NATO strap, and all kinds, you know, rubber straps. You know, I'm predominantly going to wear it on a NATO or a strap, a leather strap like this. So for me, getting the bracelet was not really important, but it is worthy to point out that you can buy this on a steel bracelet if you wish. This is the older version of the 104. The newer version, which came out I think at Baselworld 2015, here you'll instantly recognize the differences. They've added numerals, and also if you look at the dial of this one, there's a minute and seconds track running around the dial near the batons there. Personally, I much prefer this look, obviously the one I bought, because I feel it's a bit more cleaner. You know, if you prefer the numerals, then go for it. But personally, I really like the extra track seconds and minute track going around the watch. I just think it makes it look that more tool-like, and I think it's more elegant. For some reason, this doesn't do it for me, and it's so funny because it's essentially exactly the same watch, just with two little differences, but it can dramatically change it. I feel the design is cleaner, almost more masculine in a strange kind of way. But anyway, so there is this version available if you prefer it, and I think it's just worthy to point out. So let's get down to the actual nitty-gritty of the review. We'll start by looking at the dial. Very, very nicely detailed seconds and minutes track running around the dial. We have a day-date complication at the 3 o'clock position, signed Sinn at the top, automatic there, and then of course made in Germany. We have super luminova on all the batons, markers going around the dial and on all 3 hands. We have super luminova at the 12 o'clock position, the triangle on the bezel. And I must admit the luminova on this works very, very well. It's a very, very nice responsive lume, very easy to read because of these, clear, precise batons. The hands are quite interesting. They are what's described as syringe style hands. It's a new one for me, but I did a little bit digging around, and they were quite common in more in the 40s and 30s and of watches of that period. So there's a kind of nod to that era, which I find really, really cool. You guys know that I'm a huge fan of like Art Deco and 1930s architecture and all of the rest of it. So that aesthetic is something I really do appreciate. And what I do like about the hands is that they get so thin. The point of the hands are so delicate that they really hit these second markers and minute markers that go around the dial, and you can really get some precise readings, whereas other watches that don't have such detail around them, you won't get as precise reading. And it's so nice, just you don't even have to look at it close up. You can look at it from a distance and be able to tell precisely. I mean, even if you look at the hour hand, you can get a really good idea of the time even without using the other hands. It's just such a precise way of doing it, and I really do like these hands. I think it's a very kind of elegant nod to the past, which obviously this watch is referencing. It's a very kind of traditional look. It's quite it is an aviation watch, but it has a screw down crown, right? And I'll just show you a shot of the crown if this thing was ever focused. Beautiful S on the crown, by the way. It has a screw down crown, right? But it has an astonishing depth rating of 200 meters, as you see there, and which is quite rare for an aviation watch. So technically it's almost a diver. It's kind of somewhere in between, and I really do appreciate that. So you got this aesthetic of aviation piece with the bezel of an aviation piece, but the legibility, size, and water resistance of a diver. So it's really something. It's quite a hybrid. And I really do appreciate that. For me, knowing that I can just jump in the pool and I don't have to worry about it, it really does take a lot of anxiety away from wearing a watch like this. So I really do appreciate that. So let's just finish talking about the bezel. Now, one thing that I don't particularly like about the bezel is that it's a 60 click bezel. So when you turn it, even though it's very solid and has no play whatsoever, it's probably one of the most precise bezels I've seen. It is a 60 click bezel, which for me, I feel with such a precise track of minutes and seconds going around the dial, would have been nice to have 120 clicks, so then you could do even more precise timing. It's not the end of the world, but it is something that I would have preferred. But it's it's a very minor thing. The other thing is, I'm not entirely sure why they went to 41.5. Now for me it fits perfectly, and I have very small wrists, as I mentioned earlier. Why 41.5? That's something I can't really understand. If it had been 40 or 39, I think it could have been even more elegant. But I think, as I mentioned, this kind of slight kind of characteristics of a diver watch, that diver watches tend to be a little bit larger because you want it to be legible under the water, obviously. So it kind of carries on that trait. It's not a bad thing. I think the sizing is perfect, and it will definitely please a lot of people. So obviously it's hackable, and you can manually wind it up to top it up as well. So apart from the 60 click bezel, and despite the slightly larger size, those are the only two downfalls I can find with the watch. Everything else really has been amazing. So let's talk about the case. Now the case, one of my first things I liked about the watch, that drew me to the watch, were the lugs. I love these kind of angular lugs. It's all pretty much all polished. There are no matted sections apart from on the underneath. Which I think it's really nice. You've got these kind of angles to soften the edges. The whole design of it is very sleek, kind of in keeping with that tool look, and it's something that the Germans do very, very well. It's funny if you were to look at this and guess what nation made it. It just screams German, and I can't really, without getting into any kind of stereotypes, I can't really explain why. I guess it's because it's just such an efficient design. Everything has been placed there for a very specific reason. Nothing is too ornate or over the top. There is no kind of, apart from the hands, there is no, like, you know, there is nothing that doesn't need to be there. Everything that is there for a specific reason. It's one of the most well-designed watches I've come across since probably the Squire 1521, and I have to admit, I've fallen in love with this piece to the same degree as my beloved Squire. It's seldom that I feel as strongly about a watch as I have with this. A really special watch, and I think highly overlooked. I think its styling is it's very elegant. It's obviously a sporty tool watch, but you know, on a strap like this, you can easily wear it with more formal attire. You know, it's just so elegant, and I feel proud wearing this. It's funny. I'm very proud of it. You know, I can go into a room full of people wearing their subs and their Speedmasters and their, you know, God knows what, and I feel proud to have this, because it really is a quality piece. And you know, when I did the unboxing, I was kind of shocked almost, and it's put a lot of watches to shame. And I think the quality of the manufacturing, sure, the movement is not the best in the world, and it's not exactly the most amazing thing to look at, but I appreciate the display back. I like being able to see the movement. You know, it's the more kind of snooty horologists will scoff at this, but personally I like to see the thing work. You know, that's simple as that. And I do appreciate this beautiful rotor, and why not, you know. So of course we have sapphire glass, as we're talking about the glass. It's quite an interesting glass because it says it's flat, but as you see, there is a very slight curve to it, which I really like. I think they've done a really good job where it meets the bezel. It's very kind of flush and very nicely done. Obviously we have little crown guards here, very small crown guards. I mean, almost non-existent, but they still do a really good job of kind of protecting where the crown meets the case, so you're not going to catch it on anything. So despite being quite small, they do the job perfectly well. Beautiful little signed crown, which we've already mentioned. Everything is just, is just as it should be, you know. Everything lines up perfectly, and it's a thing, and as we're talking about the quality, it's something that is really impressing me about this Sinn, is that I would say easily that the quality compares to Breitling, and you know, is encroaching on kind of Omega territory, and for the price of this watch is quite incredible. I was hankering after a Navitimer, but now I'm gonna get the Sinn version, because if the quality is as good as this, and I don't see the justification spending thousands and thousands just for on branding. Sinn is quite well established. They've been going since the 60s, and I think they were founded in Frankfurt. So you know, you've got over half a century of watchmaking there, and I think they're going from strength to strength. They have one of the most impressive ranges of watches out there. I mean, there are very few brands that have so many strong designs, so clean, so elegant. If the rest of their range is of equal quality or better even, then you know, then a lot of other, then the Swiss are in trouble, because you know, you're getting a lot of bang for your buck. So the Sinn 104, it's definitely a keeper. It's, you know, it's a very worthy addition to my collection. I'm extremely proud to wear this. I think it's a very versatile piece that works on all kinds of straps, and can't wait to get this on a rubber strap. I think I'm going to put my my luxury Hirsch sailcloth with this, and I think it will be absolutely stunning, you know. Any other last points to mention? Well, I think I'm going to have to do another video discussing the kind of Sinn effect of what's happened, because it really has made me reevaluate some of my future purchasing goals, you know, because I'm just so impressed by the quality. I think with the exception of Squire perhaps, there are very few brands that you're going to get as much for your money. I think Sinn and Squire really are up. So that's pretty much the full review. If you have any questions, please put them down in the comments, and like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you're new to the channel. Obviously more videos coming soon. Thank you very much for watching. Okay guys, ciao.